Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're here because you want the essentials, fast. Today, we're tackling something core to getting projects done right. The 5 project management process groups. These are straight from the PMI's PMBOK guide.
That's right. And it's important to remember these aren't project phases exactly. They're more like categories of work, things you do throughout the project.
Okay, so not sequential steps, but overarching groups. Understanding them gives you a kind of fundamental structure, yeah.
Exactly. It's the logic underneath it all. Our mission today, break down these 5 groups, what they are, what you do in them, basically a shortcut to seeing the flow of managing a project.
All right, let's jump in. First up is initiating. What's the core idea here?
Initiating is all about the official start, defining the project, or maybe just a new phase at a very high level, and crucially, getting it authorized.
Authorized. So like getting the green light, the formal okay to proceed.
Precisely. You're making the case, getting the sign-off. It's where you formally recognize the project exists. You know, a weak start here, well, it can cause problems down the road.
Makes sense. So what actually happens? What are the key activities in initiating?
Well, you're defining things broadly, identifying stakeholders and, anyone impacted or interested, and you develop the project charter. That's a big one.
The project charter, why is that so important?
Because it formally authorizes the project. It gives the project manager the authority to actually use resources. It also sets out the high-level scope and objectives.
Okay, so the main things you walk away with from initiating are?
Definitely the project charter. That's non-negotiable. Also a stakeholder register knowing who's who, and maybe an assumption log listing what you're taking for granted at the start.
Got it. Without that formal start, it's not really a project yet.
You got it.
Okay, project's officially born. What's next?
Next is planning. And this is big. This is where you figure out how you're going to do everything. You build the roadmap.
The roadmap. Sounds detailed. What goes into that?
Oh, it is. You're defining the detailed scope, setting clear objectives, think SMART goals. You develop the main project management plan.
That's like the master document.
Exactly. It integrates all the smaller plans, schedule, budget, quality, resources, communications, risk, everything. You're also creating things like the work breakdown structure, the WBS.
Right, breaking the work down into smaller pieces.
Yes, makes it manageable, easier to estimate, easier to assign. So planning is really about laying all the groundwork meticulously.
So the key outputs here are the overall project management plan, the WBS, detailed scope statements, the schedule, the budget, a risk register.
Yep, all of that. It's comprehensive. Good planning really sets you up for success, helps avoid nasty surprises.
Okay, planning's done. Now the actual work starts. Executing.
Now we execute. This is the doing part, completing the work that you defined in the plan to meet the project requirements.
So what are people actually doing during executing?
Well, you're acquiring and managing your project team, directing the actual work, implementing planned risk responses, managing communications, ensuring quality standards are met, keeping stakeholders engaged.
A lot happening then.
Definitely. It's where the bulk of the budget is usually spent and where the deliverables are actually created.
And what comes out of executing? What are the results?
The main thing, deliverables, the actual product, service, or result the project was set up to create. You'll also get work performance data, raw info on how things are going, and often change requests pop up here.
Right. Because things don't always go exactly to plan.
Almost never, which leads us neatly into the next group.
Monitoring and controlling, keeping an eye on things.
Exactly. This one runs in parallel with executing, and sometimes loops back to planning, too. It's about tracking progress, reviewing performance, and regulating the project, making sure you're heading towards the goal.
So it's like checking the map while you're driving.
Perfect analogy. You're tracking performance against the baseline, plan scope, schedule, cost, quality. You're managing changes formally, assessing risks continuously, verifying deliverables meet quality standards.
Oh, constantly comparing plan versus actual.
Constantly. And taking corrective or preventive action if needed. It's very iterative.
What are the outputs here? What information does this give us?
You get performance reports telling stakeholders how things are going, forecasts predicting future performance, a change log to track modifications, updated plans, updated risk registers. It's about insight and control.
Right, keeping the project on the rails. Okay, almost there. What's the final group?
Finally, we have closing. This is about formally completing the project, or maybe just a phase, bringing it to an orderly end.
It's not just stopping work.
No. It's quite formal. You need to get final acceptance of the deliverables from the client or sponsor. You have to close out any procurements or contracts.
Ah, okay. Dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Precisely. You also archive all the project documents, which is super important, and you conduct a lessons learned session.
Lessons learned. So you capture what went well, what didn't.
Absolutely. For the benefit of future projects. Releasing the final team resources happens here too. It provides closure.
And the key outputs from closing.
The final product, service, or result transition, maybe to operations. The final report summarizing everything. And that critical lessons learned register. Plus, confirmation that all contracts are closed.
Okay, so initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing. And they interact, they overlap.
Definitely. Think initiating kicks it off, planning maps it out, executing builds it, monitoring and controlling steers it, and closing wraps it up. But monitoring and controlling is happening throughout, feeding back into the others. It's a dynamic system.
It provides that essential structure no matter the project.
That's the idea, a framework for success.
So a final thought for you listening. How might seeing projects through the lens of these 5 groups change how you approach your own work, even small tasks? Could it help you be more organized, more proactive, something to think about? Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.